Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Friday edition, Nedarim, Daf It number 17. I have a great share for you today. Amazing share. Mishnah and Zayim and Aleph, about 4 lines down. Yesh neder b'soch neder vein shvua b'soch shvua. There's a concept of having a neder on top of another neder. We'll see. A shvua, you can't make a shvua. Once you took a shvua, we'll see, to eat a loaf of bread, you can't repeat the shvua not to eat that loaf of bread. The second one doesn't take effect. Ketad. How does this play out? Amar Harini Nazir. Even though it's the word neder, really the Mishnah is referencing a Nazir. Harini Nazir Mochal. If I eat this loaf of bread, I'll become a Nazir. Harini Nazir Mochal. Repeats it. I'll be a Nazir if I eat this loaf of bread. And then he eats the loaf of bread. Chayav akolachas v'achas. Halacha is he's chayav 2 periods of Naziros. First, Stam Naziros is 30 days. After those 30 days are up, he has to do another Naziros of 30 days. Shvua shelo ochel, shvua shelo ochel. His shua, I'm not going to eat a loaf of bread. Shua, I'm not going to eat that same loaf of bread. But and then he eats a loaf of bread. He's only chayav malchus. If he does it on purpose, he violates the shua. Or a korban, one korban, he violates it by mistake. The shua, he only chayav once. The second shua basically doesn't take effect. The Gemara says, "Amar Rav Huna lo shanu ela the Amar Hareini Nazir Hayom Hareini Nazir LaMachar." It only takes effect to have 2 naziros. If he says, "I'm a nazir today," and if I eat this loaf of bread, I'm a Nazir starting tomorrow. Under normal circumstances, if I accept Naziros today, right, through eating this bread, and then another Naziros through eating this bread, that Naziros, for whatever reason, according to Rav Huna, can't be Chal in the second Naziros. However, if you say, I'm a Nazir today, starting today, and I'm a Nazir starting tomorrow, so therefore it's a different Naziros, and therefore the one today starts today, and the one Naziros starts tomorrow. Even though it technically doesn't play out that you're not going to observe 2 Naziros at one time. Really, it's the same thing. You're going to have 30 days in Naziros, and then when that's over, you have another 30 days in Naziros. For some reason, according to Rav Huna, this is better than if you take 2 Naziros to start at the same time. We'll discuss this in the Ben Sia, and what is the logic of Rav Huna over here. He argues on Shmuel. We'll see in a second. He agrees if you say I'm a Nazir today and I'm a Nazir today, it doesn't take effect. The Shmuel Amar Afilu Amar Hareini Nazir Hayom Hareini Nazir Hayom. The Mishnah even includes that case. Chal Naziros Aleha. You're chayav in 2 Naziros. The Rav Huna, according to Rav Huna, Adatana in Shvua b'toch Shvua. Why does the Mishnah end off saying there's no Shvua Chal and another Shvua? Listen to Yesh Neder b'soch Neder. Right? Neder b'soch Neder. There's certain times by Naziros. And Naziris is close to a neder. We'll talk about that more in Ben Sion and explain the machlokes Rav Huna and Shmuel. Why do you say shua talk shua? Say something more direct. Sometimes a naziris is chal and naziris. Sometimes a naziris is not chal and naziris. For example, already nazir hayom, already nazir lamachar. Yesh neder b'soch neder. There it would take effect. Already nazir hayom, already nazir hayom. If you said it, they both should take effect today. Ain top of Yud Zayin Beis. Ain neder b'soch neder. That's what should be a more direct way of the Mishnah talking. And the word says kasha, it's indeed a difficulty. When the word says kasha, it doesn't mean that it's a refutation. It just means we have to think about it. We don't have time to think about it. This is a proof that the Gemara encourages learning Daf Yomi, right? You encounter a difficulty in the Gemara. It's difficult. Let's move on. We gotta learn a Daf today. It's not. It says in the Mishnah, Yesh neder b'soch neder ve'in shua b'soch shua. There's a neder on top of a neder. It's a little strange lashon b'soch neder. A shua is not chal another shua. Hey chidami. What's the case for our Mishnah? Right, like Rav Huna suggests. So it would be presumably the same case by shua. Meaning, you take a shua, I'm not going to eat figs, and then you take a shua, I'm not going to eat grapes. Obviously, it's different than the first neder. Why shouldn't the second shua be chal? It's a shua on the second thing. He must be talking case. What's the case where a shua is not chal shua? A shua, I'm not going to eat figs. Again, he says, I'm not going to eat figs. He repeats his shua. The kavasa gam nazirus hechidami. So, in the corresponding case, in the Reisha of the Mishnah by nazirus, what's the case? The Amar Reini Nazir Yom, Reini Nazir Yom. Must be like a shua. He said they say exact same thing. Vikastani, nonetheless, it says Yesh neder b'soch neder. It takes effect. Kasha Rav Huna, the Kasha Rav Huna. Amakar Rav Huna. Masisa Amar Reini Nazir Yom, Reini Nazir Lamachar. Like he asserts, it's talking about where the second Naziris is a little different than the first one. It starts tomorrow. The Kavasaka b'Shvua. So what's the case by Shvua? Amar shelo ochal te'inim. If he says a Shvua, I'm not going to eat te'inim. Chazar Amar Shvua shelo ochal te'inim anavim. He adds on, right? He says, I'm not going to eat te'inim and anavim, both figs and grapes. Delo chayla. In that case, nonetheless, not chal. So the Gemara asks, not chal. I'm a rabba. Shvua shelo ochal te'inim. We took a Shvua, I'm not going to eat te'inim. Chazar Amar Shvua shelo ochal te'inim anavim. Like Rav Huna wants to suggest, right? You add on in the second Shvua. Ochal te'inim. He ate te'inim. Hifresh korban, and then he realizes he made a mistake. He sets aside a korban, which effectively ends the violation of that shvua. B'chazer v'achal anavim. Then he eats grapes. Hevyalo anavim chati shir. Ein mevi'im korban al chati shir. By eating the grapes, right? So by separating a korban, you separate it between the two shvuas. The first shvua is just on figs, and then once I separate a korban, so the second shvua is on figs and on grapes. And when you only eat grapes, you only did a chatzi shir, you only violated, you have to, in order to violate the shvua, the full shir, you have to eat grapes and figs. Because it's chal on the anavim, on the grapes, right? It's chal on the teinim also, to the point that if you only ate grapes, you only violated chatzi shir. You wouldn't violate, it wouldn't be that the second shvua is chal only on grapes, because otherwise you'd be chayav a full shir. Rav Huna is severe like a Rabba. Rav Huna doesn't agree with Rabba. He holds if you say shul shlochal te'inim and shul shlochal te'inim anavim, so the second shvua on te'inim it's not effective because you already had a shvua on te'inim. It's only effective for the grapes. Therefore, if you're hifresh korban and you ate anavim by itself, you'd be chayav a korban shvua for the anavim itself. Meisive Misha Nazar Shein Naziros. Raisa says you took his two Naziros. Manas Rishana hifresh korban. You fulfilled 30 days in Naziros, you separate a korban, and then your Naziros, you're supposed to separate a couple of korbanos. V'nishal aleh. And then he went to a Rav and was matir his Naziros. I didn't intend to take his Naziros. Also shniya b'rishona. So, not only, right, the first one, Naziros is gone because he never, retroactively, never accepted it upon himself. The chiddush of this brisa is that the second Naziros, which was chal, we see from this brisa, that's chal, it's already counted. It was already done through those 30 days in the zeros. Hey, chidam, what's the case? Like Rav Huna suggests, am I also lo shniya b'rishon? How could the second Naziris be fulfilled through the first Naziris? Right? You still have another day because the first Naziris is only 30 days. The second Naziris it's only 29 of those 30 days. You need another day. Must be talking in the cases you said, I'm a Nazir today twice for Tiyufta de Rav Huna, and you see that it's chal nonetheless. The Gemara says the Gemara on top of Yudchem and Aleph pushes it away. That's the case of the Brisa, like Rav Huna says. Otherwise, it wouldn't be chal. My also low. What does it mean that the second Naziros is fulfilled through the first Naziros? Levar mehu yoma. 29 days are fulfilled. You still have to add another 30 days in Naziros. Inam, you can go to Kibbutz Shein Naziros b'Asachas. We'll see it on Daf Yudches. Rav Huna admits that if he says, he makes a statement, if I eat this bread, I'm chayav two Naziros. He doesn't say, if I eat this bread, I'm chayav a Naziros. And then he repeats, if I eat this bread, I'm chayav a Naziros. That's a Naziros chal Naziros. But if he says, at one time, chayav shein Naziros, for some reason, Rav Huna, even in that case, would agree that you're chayav two Naziros. After the first Naziros is finished, 30 days, then you do the second Naziros for 30 days. That's the conclusion of today's shir. And there's not a shir in 8 minutes and 45 seconds. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. We're going to talk and understanding what Rav Huna and Shmuel really argue about, and we'll get into the nature of Naziros. Is Naziros considered to be an Isser on the Chefsa, or an Isser Gavra, like a Shvuah? We'll talk about that, Ian with Ben Sion, coming up next.